Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where we continue on with the Gold and Silver story arc, where previously, Crystal, who has been tasked with hunting down Suicune by Professor Oak, had an encounter with said Pokemon in the midst of trying to keep it away from Team Rocket. But as Crystal tried her best in order to capture said creature, she came to understand that what she thought about the Pokemon didn't seem to be quite right. Because of her tendency to take things so seriously, her confidence is shaken, and her mother tells her to go back to basics, relearning when she first became the expert catcher that she became when she was young and her arms were broken. All the while, Suicune continues to observe her, while also constantly running into other gym leaders and challenging them, though it's still hard to say for what exactly. Suicune seems to be leading several people to different conclusions, information about Ho-Oh, as well as maybe there's more to what Suicune wants rather than just a trainer. All the while, the masked man, now leader of Team Rocket, continues to move about in the shadow, commanding his minions left, right, and center. But now that Crystal's back in the game, can we expect our other protagonists to finally make their grand return? And will it be in time to stop whatever machinations Team Rocket has in motion? Join me as I find out. Won't you? We pick up in the outskirts of Violet City, where we see Falconer training with his Skarmory and Noctowl. He takes something and tosses it in the air. In chapter 137, really Raikou and entirely Entei. It's about time they showed up. Part 1. Falconer calls out, "There, Skarmory!" And Skarmory takes off, grabbing, is it like a crystalline translucent boomerang? To adjust Skarmory's eyes to, and maybe Falconer's as well, to keeping up with something that seems invisible to the naked eye. Skarmory returns it to Falconer as Falconer says, "Nice work." Enter a bird keeper, saying, "Hey bro, catch any valuable ones?" The bird keeper with his hoot on his wrist. He jabs at Falconer saying, "Oh come on, what's with the surprised face? You think you're the only one of us out here?" Falconer questions, "One of us?" The bird catcher says, "Duh, poachers. Who else would hang out here in the Safari Zone? A refuge for wild Pokemon. Look how many I got." And he opens up his cooler containing several Pokeballs. Falconer gets visibly upset and asks the man, "You caught all those?" As he shifts through his clothes. The bird keeper gets startled, saying, "Yeah, and nobody's taking them from me," as he shuts the cooler. But suddenly, a drop of water falls on his nose, and a sudden rainstorm falls upon the two of them. The bird keeper says, "Hey, rain wasn't in the weather forecast. I hate getting wet. Guess I'll call it quits for two." But before he can finish his sentence, suddenly, a flash comes down before them, striking a nearby tree in front of them. It's a bolt of lightning that shocks both Falconer and the bird keeper, frying the tree to a crisp. Oh, but it's not just lightning that struck the tree. There, atop the burnt and destroyed top of the tree, Falconer and the bird keeper see it. Falconer saying, "That's a big quadruped Pokemon." The bird keeper is overjoyed, saying, "Must be the one everybody's talking about, Suicune." Falconer says, "No, this one is Raikou." Yep, there he is. "Will you fall back into my good graces, Raikou?" I mean, Suicune's the alpha right now. "Oh, geez. Two of them?" Falconer says, "One of the other legendary Pokemon who awoke under the burned tower. But what's it doing here?" And the bird keeper calls out, "Hey, another one," pointing behind them. Falconer shouting, "Entei!" as the majestic beast looms behind them. Falconer looks at both, saying, "There must be a reason for this." But the bird keeper licks his chops, saying, "Man, what luck. Do you know how much these things are worth?" as he brandishes two Pokeballs. But as he gets close to Entei, Falconer calls out, "Wait!" as Entei glares down at the bird keeper. The bird keeper kind of shrinks back, fear finally overtaking him. Oh, as Entei goes for the strike, the bird keeper only just barely managing to avoid harm, as Falconer scoops him up on his Skarmory, taking off. The bird keeper calls out, "Hang on," as Falconer and Skarmory take him into the forest, flying low. Entei and Raikou look at each other and then dash off after Falkner, managing to overtake him in seconds. Jeez, they're so fast. As they flank Falkner's Skarmory, the bird keeper looks back saying, they're too fast. Falkner says Suicune is the only legendary who's been seen since the tower fell. So Suicune is the only one I prepared for. Yeah, with the translucent boomerang. But all 3 legendary Pokemon left the tower at the same time. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the other 2 have the same agenda. 2 against 1, huh? Well, I've been wanting to improve my skills. I'll view this as a gift. Not too good against fire or electric type Pokemon. But maybe that's why I need this battle, right? Because of your Skarmory and other flying types. I accept your challenge. Falkner has Skarmory stop short with the legendary dogs moving past. Falkner commands Skarmory to use Swift, and Skarmory unleashes a blast on both Raikou and Entei, but both Pokemon manage to dodge. The bird keeper shouts in a panic, they're too fast. You'll never hit them, only for rain to suddenly appear right above them again. The bird keeper saying, the rain clouds are following us? Falkner says no. This is, yes, the clouds emanating from Raikou's mane. Falkner sees it, but it's too late, as a jolt of electricity hits them from Raikou's cloud mane thingy. As the 3 recover, Falkner says that was Spark, an attack that comes from the rain clouds generated from Raikou's back. But suddenly, Falkner sees a blast of fire coming at him in the form of the kanji for fire. Skarmory just barely manages to dodge as Falkner says, and this is Entei's fire blast. The bird keeper says, lightning above, fire below, we're doomed, doomed. But Falkner seems to realize something and calls out to his Skarmory. As Skarmory starts to descend, the bird keeper panics, saying, why are you going in closer? As Skarmory hovers just above Entei. Falkner saying, shut up, timing is everything. It's then that Raikou and Entei charge their attacks, and Falkner calls out, here they come, as the 2 legendary Pokemon unleash Spark and Fire Blast again respectively. Just before it hits Skarmory, Skarmory seemingly disappears. The 2 blasts hit each other, causing a massive explosion. Oh, or does it negate each other? Falkner watches, saying to the bird keeper, they attack from above and below, so I used agility to make their attacks cancel each other out. Oh, so they just got canceled. Interesting. And now they've got to recharge before they can attack again, as Raikou watches from a tree and Entei watches from the ground. Falkner brandishes 2 Pokeballs, saying Raikou and Entei are mine. But the figure of Suicune suddenly appears behind him. Suicune moves in, which seems to take both Raikou and Entei off guard. As Suicune charges up an attack, as Falkner lies unaware. Falkner calls out, and now, throwing the 2 balls towards Raikou and Entei. As Falkner says, go! But as the balls approach, Falkner feels something. He tells the bird keeper, I feel weird. The bird keeper turns and shouts as Suicune moves past them. Falkner calling out to Suicune. Chapter 138. Really Raikou and entirely Entei, Part 2. Oh, but Suicune unleashes his attack towards Raikou and Entei. Oh, Bubble Beam, stopping the balls from managing to capture them. Right, Suicune then lands on the top of the nearby plateau. Falkner says Suicune came too, and its Bubble Beam intercepted my Pokeballs. The bird keeper wipes the sweat from his chin, saying that was close, bro, too close. You gotta hang it up, man. Just tell them we're sorry and we want to go home. If they're valuable and all, but what good are all the Pokemon in the world if we never make it out of this forest? So give up already. And Falkner said no. All 3 legendary Pokemon together. How can I pass up a challenge like that? None of the great gym leaders stood a chance against Suicune, but I've got a foolproof plan to capture it. Let's go, Skarmory. And he takes off on Skarmory. Skarmory's wings begin to shine, much to the bird keeper's confusion. Actually, I can't really tell what's going on. The bird keeper says, what is this thing? It's like it's got metal wings. Like, yeah, it does. It's a metal type Pokemon. Falkner says it does. Wings that can beat down any opponent as they race in on Suicune. Falkner commands Skarmory to use Steel Wing, which seems to knock Suicune for a loop. The bird keeper says, you got it, but the point of impact where Skarmory hits Suicune cracks and shatters. Jeez. The bird keeper says, hey, it broke its wing. But Falkner grits his teeth, saying, I'm not done yet. Time for this, as he tosses a multitude of Pokeballs all at once. Hey, rapid fire, all towards Suicune. But Suicune just seems to smile it off as the bird keeper panics, saying, "What good will that do you? Look, that Pokemon's laughing at you." But Falconer smiles as well, to the bird keeper's surprise. But then he realizes and looks back, saying, "The Pokeballs, they're coming back at you." Falconer turns to the bird keeper with a smile, saying, "That's how it works. That Pokeball has wings that come out of the grooves just like a boomerang." Are you kidding me? The boomerang balls all home in on Suicune. As Faulkner says, Skarmory's feathers are thin and sharp. And when they fall off, they turn transparent and can be used as weapons. I use Skarmory so often in battle, I figured that out a long time ago. Suicune won't be able to figure out the path of the Pokeballs as the balls come in on a panicking Suicune. Suddenly, a massive blast comes from two directions, destroying the balls, much to Faulkner's shock. He says the Pokeballs just fell apart as Raikou and Entei reach the top of the plateau alongside Suicune. Suicune is taken aback. Faulkner says, "Raikou's lightning and Entei's fire." But suddenly, they're going down. Faulkner calls out, "Hang on. Oh no. Skarmory lost a flight feather and can't keep his balance." As they near the ground below, suddenly, they're caught in a massive bubble. The bird keeper saying, "It's the same bubble that stopped my Pokeball." Faulkner calls out to Suicune. As all three near each other and their headpieces start shining, they seem to be communicating something about the Tin Tower, potentially the lack of Ho-Oh. Raikou turns away, while Entei gives Suicune one last look before all three go their separate directions. As the bubble that Faulkner and the others were caught in lands on the ground and pops, the bird keeper looks up, saying, "Gone." Seemed like they were discussing something, didn't it? "Tough battle, huh? Too bad. You could have made a sweet profit." Faulkner says, even without Raikou and Entei, I would have lost. In the end, Suicune had enough strength left to save us. Now, and he throws his little boomerang at the bird keeper's shirt, keeping him held in place. The bird keeper says, "Hey, it's not my fault you lost. Don't take it out on me." But as Faulkner once again reaches into his clothes, the bird keeper calls out, "Help, police!" And Faulkner brings out his badge, saying, "At your service," much to the shock of the bird keeper. As Faulkner also brandishes his gym badge, saying, "I'm an officer in the Violet Police Department, as well as the new leader of the Violet Gym. Lucky you, I just passed my officer's exam. Barely in time to place you under arrest for poaching and trespassing on a Pokemon refuge." And he puts cuffs on the bird keeper. Dragging him away, the bird keeper says, "Hey, come on, man. I fought alongside you, pal. You can't bust your own partner." But as Faulkner takes off on Skarmory, he thinks to himself, those three have some sort of powerful connection. They're all from the same land, but what else ties them together? What else indeed? We pick up with Red making his way up a mountain as Blue's Charizard watches. We're in the Johto region at Mount Silver. We see Sabrina soaking her wrists from where Lorelei had used her ice cuff. As Sabrina's Pokegear goes off, I'm still surprised she's wearing that rocket dress. I think she would have at least changed it up a little. Lieutenant Surge contacts Sabrina, saying, "Sabrina, come in." Sabrina says, "Sir." Answering, Surge asks, "How's your arm?" Sabrina tells him, "It's healing. I've soaked my wrists in this stupid hot spring every single day for a year, but I still have to rely on you for a while. How are things on your end?" She asks as she wipes her wrist. Oh, does she have Koga's Venomoth? Or is it hers? But in chapter 139, Raising Raichu, Lieutenant Surge, who is just more decked out each appearance, says, "Excellent. Our investigation is in its final stages. Several incidents have been reported in Johto over the past few months. We have eyewitness report of Team Rocket involvement in the Elm Laboratory Totodile theft, the damage to the ruins of Alpha, the Slowpoke Tail smuggling ring, and of course, the Ecruteak cave-in." "Oh, he's over by the Lake of Raid," Surge tells her. "But their involvement is unambiguous after the latest incident 3 weeks ago here in Mahogany. A mass outbreak of Gyarados that has our former team's fingerprint all over it. One major question remains. They should have all disbanded when we lost our boss, Giovanni. Our fellow former leaders are all accounted for. But what's pulling the team back together? That's what I'm tracking now. I've joined the crew of the Aqua and made repeated trips to Johto. What I learned is there's a new boss in town. Someone's gathering the old rank and file and managing to keep it a secret from Giovanni and the rest of us former leaders. Serge says, growing angrier by the second. As he hangs up his Poké Gear, he heads to the Rage Candy Bar, which I kinda remember that place. No, that's an item you should get, right? Well, he arrives at this bar, and this is the place. Witnesses saw something suspicious come in and out of here during the Gyarados incident. Serge takes off his sunglasses, saying, first glance, it looks just like a typical souvenir shop. But before he can continue, suddenly he hears something. He says, what's that sound? He feels a rumbling below his feet. He puts his ear to the ground, saying, from below? On the ground. He brings out his Raichu and has it use a thunder shock to open up the floor beneath them. He tells his Raichu, we're going in. And the two descend. As Lieutenant Surge jumps down, he finds himself in a Team Rocket base. And he says, jackpot. A training center. Doubles as a power plant by the look of it. Now let's see what we can uncover about who's running the show in this. But suddenly, a voice calls out, you? Uncover anything? For sure. Thank you for injecting a bit of humor into my day. Surge calls out, who are you? Show yourself. As the masked man lands right behind him, laughing. Now I'm suddenly thinking of Halloween Town. Surge turns, calling out, so you're the clown who claims to be the new leader of Team Rocket. And he sends out 3 of his Magneton surrounding the masked man. The masked man says, I'm curious. How exactly did you find this bait? Surge smiles, saying, you're interrogating me? If you're trying to buy time for your goons to show up, save your breath. The masked man doesn't respond, as Surge readies himself nervously, saying, not that there's any disadvantage in telling you. Oh, he was intimidated. As Surge approaches, he says, most people would have overlooked it. I happen to be an expert on electric-type Pokemon. Because I got a powerful electric-type Pokemon with me, electrical devices go haywire whenever I'm nearby. So all these meters and gauges went nuts when I entered the shop. Yeah, he would have a bit of a electric or magnetic field around him with all these Pokemon. That actually makes some kind of sense. Serge says, no way could I miss that. But suddenly, the masked man flings his cloak to the side, revealing Houndour, who unleashes a fiery blast. Surge says, your little trick won't work on me, as Raichu manages to cut through it with its tail, almost jamming Houndour in the throat with it. Houndour howls in defeat as Surge says, now it's my turn to ask the question. What's your game? What do you want with Team Rocket? The masked man says nothing. So Surge continues on, saying, take a gander at Raichu's ears. See how they prick up? Raichu's been soaking up the electricity from this place and it's ready to deploy. I know what this power plant is intended for, but it sure works to my advantage. Now answer me before I... Suddenly, a multitude of Houndour has entered into the room surrounding Surge on 2 different levels of the facility. Surge turns to the masked man, asking, where were you hiding them? The masked man tells him these Houndour are wild Pokemon. When my Houndour howled, the pack answered the call. Oh, it wasn't a cry of defeat, it was a call for backup. The other Houndour starts howling, and it seems to affect Surge and Raichu as he says, what the heck? I can't move a muscle. How come? The masked man tells him, no one sneaks around here and gets away from me. The 2 brats who darted to interfere with my plans at the Lake of Rage lie at the bottom of that very lake now. Oof, brutal. I doubt that. Surge is taken aback as a chill runs down his spine. The masked man says, and you are about to join them. Surge tells him, you think I infiltrate your base alone? Naturally, I have a contingency plan. The masked man pauses as he hears something. Surge reveals a timer on his belt, saying, when I jumped down here, I set the timer to 5 minutes. That way, if I was captured, I could take my escape and my enemy down with me. As the timer hit 0, a multitude of Electrode all emerge from the Pokeballs on Surge's belt. Surge tells the masked man, they call me Lieutenant Surge. I'm a combat leader for Team Rocket. And any real leader would have seen this coming. Oh, gee, they just go off. Holy crap. Self-destruct. It knocks back all the Houndour as well as the last man. As the masked man gets up, he says, You self-destruct, eh? Look through my clutches. As we see nothing in the crater made by the massive explosion. How he got out of there in time is absolutely beyond me. The masked man says, So what? No former Team Rocket leader would ever go to the police. Cut to outside the Lake of Rage, where Lieutenant Surge stumbles his way back before he collapses a bit on the floor, saying, So, you thought you could beat me, whippersnapper? He's dangerous, though. I sense the malevolence in his heart. To defeat him, I'll need more power. But suddenly, something starts bubbling up in the Lake of Rage. We cut to the bottom of the water where we see feathers and something cracking, which is where the bubbles are coming from. Surge goes, Huh? As he examines, he says, Air bubbles. Something's coming up from below. He thinks to himself, Is he launching another attack? I better prepare to... No, I'm injured. Probably can't survive another battle, but I need to gather as much recon as I can about him. No choice after all. What's he about to do? He takes his sub down and sees a bright light. There's that light, and he finds the red Gyarados frozen. Chapter 140, Do-Si-Do with Dodrio. There it says, Oh, a red Gyarados. I've heard that different colored Pokemon shine, but I've never seen it before. This one's frozen solid, too. With those bubbles, it's breathing. It's alive. This lake is nicknamed Gyarados' Lake. So no surprise finding one here, but why is it frozen? Something to do with the outbreak? Suddenly, the sleeping Gyarados awakened, bursting free from its imprisonment, much to Surge's shock. Surge says no, and turns around and takes off. With the Gyarados, it follows, angry. Surge says, I don't have any Pokemon on me that can fight an underwater Pokemon. But maybe, just maybe, he brandishes a Pokeball. He releases his Raichu and accesses his ship's computer, saying, I can use your electricity to power my underwater laser and give it a run for its money at least. Raichu is connected to the jumper cables. Surge brings out his laser arm and shouts, Fire! Only for Gyarados to just brush right past him. Surge says, Hey, what? The Gyarados comes to a rock and starts headbutting it. Yeah, I don't understand how this explains what happened to Silver. It's been a month. There's no way they've been frozen this entire time, right? Surge sees this, saying there's another block of ice, and something else is inside that one. The Gyarados is attacking it, but Gyarados seems to grow exhausted and faints underwater. Surge says, It passed out. Not surprising. It had just barely thawed. The Gyarados must really care about that thing it was trying to get at. Wait, he remembers the masked man's words saying, No one that snoops around here and gets away from me. The two brats who dared to interfere with my plans at the Lake of Rage lie at the bottom of that very lake now. Surge says, Two brats. Could it be? Okay then. And he fires his newly charged laser right at the block of ice, and the ice breaks. Air escapes. We later cut to Surge using his mechanical laser arm to fish things out of the water. Surge examines it, saying, No doubt about it. This must belong to those kids who that poser said he dropped into the lake. The Gyarados probably belonged to one of them. Unfortunately, no children could survive 3 weeks frozen in the lake. Right, so what's the explanation? But Surge hears something ringing. He searches one of the bags saying that sound, and what he finds says, This thing is a Pokédex? Cut to Olivine City, finally, at the Olivine Pokemon Center, where Crystal enters with her Pokemon, saying, Hey, I got my gear and Pokédex, and all my broken Pokeballs have been repaired. I'm ready to cross the ocean and start catching the Pokemon of Cinnawood. If only I had a Pokemon with Surf. I guess I'll just have to wait for the ship. She turns, seeing her Pokemon looking despondent because of their inability. Crystal says, I'm sorry, don't be hurt. You're the best capturing team ever. Bayleaf nuzzles up to her, yep, just like Ashes, saying, and now that Megari has evolved into a Bayleaf, you're gonna be even better. Oh, suddenly, on the water, Crystal sees something shocking. A surfing Pikachu, with his Pikachu honey on the back. Crystal says, Whoa, look at that. A Pikachu using surf? Is it a wild one? She brings out a Pokeball, but as Pikachu is surfing with wild abandon, he makes a sharp turn, throwing off the female Pikachu on the back. Crystal says, Watch out! But suddenly, a Dodrio comes rushing past, with this rider saying, "Heads up." Yellow comes in and manages to save the female Pikachu, saying, "Yeah, shoot you, don't scare me like that. I know you want to learn to use surf like Pika, but be careful." Crystal calls out, "Hey." Yellow rushes over saying, "Sorry, almost ran into you." And when you see her like this, you might actually think it's a dude. Crystal thinks to herself, "I should have known that Pikachu already had a trainer. It's too skilled." Oh well. He tells her, "No worries. I'm fine, really." Yellow then says, "Wait, are you Crystal?" She pulls up a sketch of Crystal that reads, "Capture, Kicks, Pokegear." Crystal questions, "Yeah, how did you know?" Yellow says, "Awesome. I've been looking all over for you." Oh, yes, baby. Two great girls meeting together. Now, I gotta ask, seriously, what is with the protagonist getting frozen and disappearing? Well, regardless, Crystal says, "What?" in shock along with her Pokemon, as Yellow holds up the sketch of Crystal. Crystal saying, that's me? You're looking for me?" Yellow cheers saying, "Yep. I knew I'd find you in Olivine." Kinda rhymes. Crystal questions, "What's this all about? Who are you? How do you know me?" Yellow says, "Too many questions all at once. Come on, let's go." She just walks off, Crystal's Pokemon already just following her naturally, which causes Crystal to stumble like, "Wait, huh?" She chases after saying, hold on." She grabs Yellow saying, "You got some explaining to do." In chapter 141, Hello Lickitung, as some shadowy Lickitung-like figures are watching around the corner as Crystal tries to talk to Yellow. Suddenly, what seems to be tongues, I hope they're tongues, bear down on the Yellow whose back is turned, Crystal seemingly noticing. And suddenly, Yellow and Crystal's Bayleaf are scooped up by the massive tongues. Crystal calling out, "Hey! Wow, Lickitung! Why?" And the four Lickitung carry off Yellow and Bayleaf. Crystal says, "But why are they..." Oh! And as Bayleaf panics, Crystal says, "It must be the scent from Magary's neck. They're attracted to it." Oh, right. Magary just evolved, so I can't control his powers yet. The poor boy got caught in this mess. I better do something. She calls out to Yellow, following behind, saying, "Are you hurt?" Only to find Yellow fast asleep, causing Crystal to stumble again. I'm starting to really love this relationship. It's just like this kid. That's Yellow in a nutshell, though. It's Yellow at her best. Crystal thinks, "You're sleeping?" But Yellow stirs and yawns, saying, "I smell something nice and I fell asleep." "Hey, it's coming from your leaves," she says to Bailey. And it says, "Huh?" She notices what's going on, saying, "I'm floating and being attacked by wild Pokemon?" Crystal brings out her Pokeball, saying, "I'll help you." But Yellow says, "Nah, fine," and then points downward, showing that she released the Rattata on the lure with the Pokeball. "Ah, Rattata." Crystal looks down, saying, "A fishing rod?" Yellow says, "Now, Ratty," as Rattata scurries inside of the ball, causing it to rotating around the Lickitung, the line in the ball, that is. Yellow shouts, "Okay," and as the line is able to be snagged by Yellow, it causes the Lickitung to stumble, sending them towards the water. Crystal says, "Hey, watch out." The Lickitung released them, but towards the water still. Crystal says, "Oh no," only for Yellow to seemingly release her Butterfree, which has grabbed onto her like days of old, and allowed her to catch Bayleaf as well, much to Crystal's astonishment, her saying, "What?" And Yellow sets Bayleaf down, saying, "Ooh, that was close." Yellow flies down with Bayleaf, saying, "Now recall all your Pokemon to their Pokeballs. You can fly, right?" Crystal says, "Sort of." And Yellow grabs her hand, saying, "Then let's go." Crystal asks, "Huh? What? Where?" And as Crystal brings out her Natu, who flies her up, which you would think by her head that would be kind of painful, but they hold hands and they fly off. Yellow says, questions, "Your mission is to complete a new Pokédex, right, Crystal?" Crystal says, "Yes." Yellow asks, "How far along are you?" Crystal tells her, "I love that the Pikachu are surfing below." Crystal says, "Well, I managed to make a lot of good captures, but there are still some big ones left. My ultimate goal now is Suicune, one of the three legendary who awoke in Ecruteak." Yellow says, "Yep, that's what I was sent to help with." Crystal questions, "Sent?" Crystal just can't catch a break on this one. As Yellow cheers, "Hey, there he is, Mr. Fisherman." And we see the fisherman on his boat waving, "Hey there." But Crystal asks, "What do you mean help? Do you know something I don't know about Suicune?" Yellow says, sure I do. Went a little too far. After all, I was the one who woke those legendaries up. What? Wait, what? What? We then cut over to the Eckertique gym, where Morty has finally arrived, saying, well, mischievous, Ghastly, we're back at last. Man, you took your sweet time on this. But he senses something saying, who's there? The voice calls out, you must be the clairvoyant, the Eckertique gym leader who sees things that can't be seen. Suddenly, something launches towards him. Morty reaction shocked, but oh, it's a magnemite, which pins him to the door of the gym. Okay, so it's him. Interesting. Morty says, Magnemite? A Magnemite? Where are you? Morty then uses his Makan Kosapo-like senses, saying, never mind. Heading from me is pointless. Realizing where the figure is, he says, Mischievous, over there. And Mischievous uses, I don't know, Yalir or something to peek through. As Lieutenant Surge says, what a surprise. So your powers are the real thing. He smiles from a nearby tree. Morty saying, pull this Pokemon off me before you start dishing out compliments, or you'll be hit with my Psybeam. Surge says, oh yeah? Look again. Morty then realizes that Raichu's tail is right at his throat. And Surge says, my Raichu's tail will stab you first. Morty says, clever. And Surge laughs as well. Morty tells them, looks like you've taken a real beating. No wonder you ambushed me. You couldn't face me head on. Surge says, give me a break, man. I just took the full brunt of Electrode's self-destruct and then fought an underwater battle. Yeah, Surge has had one heck of a day. If I hadn't found this before I left, I would have gone straight back to Kanto. He brings out the Pokédex, saying, here's what I'm thinking. If the kid that got tossed into the lake has a Pokédex, he gotta be something special. I think he survived. Morty questions, what are you talking about? Surge walks over saying, nothing, but I need your help. Morty questions, my help? Surge says, yeah, I want you to use your clairvoyance to find the owner of this gear. He brings out one of Silver's shoes as well as Gold's hat. Lieutenant Surge says, here's a cap, goggles, and a boot. Judging from this size, these kids are probably about 10 years old. Man, so young. I found this gear frozen in a block of ice on the bottom of the Lake of Rage. Salvaging it nearly finished me off. I'd appreciate any help you can give me. He weakly takes a knee and he says, hey, hold on. What's this all about? Why should I help you? Surge says, look, I'd ask my friend who has powers like yours, but she's recovering from an injury at the moment. Rumor has it you're good. I'll pay whatever you want. Surge thinks to himself, if these kids fought the masked man, I've got to find him. I have to question them about the battle so I'll know how to handle him when we meet again. Morty looks at the money and says, you didn't acquire your money through crime. Lieutenant Surge is shocked, saying, you can tell that? Well, you're right. I worked real hard aboard the Aqua for this. Morty says, all right. I'll do it. Surge questions, you will? Morty says, you could stand to learn some manners, but you're no different from anyone else who's asked me to search for something for them, which brings up a lot of questions. Surge has Magnemite release him, saying, I knew I could count on you. Morty tells him, stand back, and he uses abilities on the boot, with Mischievous and Ghastly circling him. In chapter 142, really Remoraid. Meanwhile, offshore of Olivine, on Yellow's fisherman uncle's boat, I don't know if it's a real uncle or kids riding around with these strange men. The fisherman says, I can't believe you found it, Yellow. Yellow giggles while Crystal questions, Yellow? The fisherman says, you two haven't introduced yourselves yet? Sorry, little lady. The name's Yellow. Remember that incident in Kanto with the Elite Four? Well, Yellow's the one who saved the day. Doesn't look like much though, huh? Yellow says, nice to meet you, holding out a hand to shake. But Crystal withdraws, saying, excuse me, it's just that He then whispers to her Bayleaf in the Pokeball, saying, Nagari, I'm having serious doubts about this. Who are these people? You know, it's funny, she had an easier time palling up to Ucine than to Yellow. But Yellow's a bit of a lot. How could a little guy like that defeat the Elite Four? Not to mention awaken the 3 legendary Pokemon. Was it the incident at the end of that battle that awoke them? Yellow doesn't seem crazy or evil, but how could I tell? I gotta call Professor Oak and have him contact the police, and she accesses her Pokegear, saying, Professor, I need... Oak says, hello, Chris. Have you met up with Yellow yet? See, this is the one time where Chris is the one taken aback by someone already knowing what's up. Turnabout's fair play. Chris says, what? You know? Oak says, I heard Yellow was in Johto, so I asked Yellow to find you and, hey, are you okay? Chris says, just a little rattled, that's all. Oak says, I'm sorry, a little busy at the moment, but I'll shoot you some data, all right? Yellow pops her head over saying, what's wrong, seasick? Crystal says, no, I'm fine. Yellow tells the fisherman she says she's fine, Mr. Fisherman. Crystal says, thinks, oh, the data upload. And she gets the information. She sees Yellow, age 12, and Crystal, 11 years old, says, you're older? Yellow asks, older than what? The fisherman laughs, saying, calm down, little miss, we're not villains. No doubt Yellow dragged you here without any explanation. Here's the scoop. We're headed towards Cinnamwood on the west side of Johto. We figured that'd be your route, so we got this boat all ready for you. Mainly, though, we want to give you some info about those 3 legendary Pokémon you're trying to find. Crystal says, so, it's all true. Yellow says, yep, sure is, although the fisherman says, yep, sure is. Though technically Yellow didn't wake them up. More like Yellow having to be on the scene when they awoke. We originally came to Johto to find a flying Pokémon who disappeared while heading this way during the incident with the Elite Four, but suddenly a torrent of Remoraid come bursting out of the water, kind of bearing down on the boat. Fisherman says, a school of Remoraid. Get down, they're ramming the boat. But why? I can't steer clear of them. Crystal says, the barrage isn't stopping. Guess I'll just have to capture all of them. And she brings out her Parasect. Yellow saying, what? Crystal says, Parasy, expand your spore range. Everybody hold your breath. And Parasect unleashes a torrent of spores, which causes the Remoraid to fall asleep. She then creates a circle of Pokeballs by, dumping her bag out in a line. She says, okay, 1, 2, yeah! And she just kicks around in the circle, capturing the Remoraid, causing it to rain Pokeballs. Jeez, this girl. Good to see her back in top form. Though the fisherman and Yellow and Pikachu brace themselves for the rain of Pokeballs coming down on them. The Crystal smiles, saying, capture complete. Yellow gathers up the Pokeballs, saying, that was amazing. The fisherman says, I heard you were a specialist, but this is... Yellow says, I totally stink at capturing. I hardly ever catch any wild Pokemon. You're so cool. Crystal is taken aback again, saying, huh? He then thinks, that's why he used that basic move with the Lickitung? But how could Yellow be good enough to beat the Elite Four and not be able to... Yellow says, oh, Crystal, your Parasect looks hurt. Crystal says, yeah, there's a small wound. One of those Remoraid must have hit it while you were Yellow says, one of those Remoraid must have hit it while you were capturing them. Crystal goes for her bag, saying, I better use my potion right away. But Yellow pats it on the head. And suddenly, the wound is healed, much to Crystal's bewilderment. The fisherman says, don't get excited. You'll get used to Yellow's healing power. Crystal thinks, incredible. Gotta stop doubting him. Obviously, this guy is one unique trainer. His Parasect is... But Yellow thinks her Parasect is well trained. In that capture, I see why Professor Oak gave her a Pokedex. The two of them smile at each other and shake hands. Crystal saying, it's an honor to meet you, Yellow. Call me Chris. Yellow says, thank you. Pleased to meet you, too. Crystal panics, saying, you don't need to be so formal. I'm not royalty. The fisherman laughs. While Yellow says, I was just thinking. There was a huge Pokemon migration at Seafoam Island. Last year, Professor Oak said it was because the wild one sensed a catastrophe on its way. Maybe something similar is going on? Suddenly, the fisherman feels the lurch of the boat. He goes to take the wheel as Crystal says, unfortunately, I think you're right. The fisherman says, uh-oh. Oh, unfortunately, the fisherman is the one who says, unfortunately, I think you're right. Uh-oh. Yellow asks, uh-oh what? The fisherman says, look. As they're caught in a whirlpool, we're getting sucked into a giant whirlpool. I've seen plenty of whirlpools around here, but never one this big. How will I pull us out? But then Crystal sees something, saying there's something below the whirlpool. Oh, that figure. What could it be? Meanwhile, back with Morty, he says, I found them. Surge asks, where are they? Morty tells him, I see water. Surge comes to the conclusion, the Lake of Rage? Morty says, no. It's larger than a lake. It's the ocean. Surge asks, the ocean? Morty tells him, yes, there's a whirlpool, and next to it, an island. Owns that gear is on that island. What a coincidence that Crystal and Yellow are right next to it. Oh, yeah, huh? And we see in a ring of fire, still knocked out gold and silver, which, how have you, and overlooking them. Entei, has Entei been keeping them alive? Sorry if you notice me tearing up for no reason. My eyes are just kind of burning, so let's wrap this up. It's great to actually see gym leaders from different regions kind of interacting. mostly because of the very close nature that Johto and Kanto have. You know, Johto and Kanto are just very linked to each other, so it makes a lot of sense. But seeing Surge in action, getting a little bit of Sabrina, that's actually really fun, especially just because of how important they are. I'm glad that we're making sure that the previous gym leaders are shown to be having just as much importance as the newer one, especially after everything that's happened. And even getting to see both Entei, Raikou, and Suicune kind of working in collaboration too, that's fascinating because I don't think you ever saw that in any other media. The only time you saw the three of them really together was in the games when you first go after them and you're trying to capture one of them. I also love the interaction between Yellow and Crystal. It's fun. It's one of those things where I want to see more interactions of previous and current Pokédex holder. It's really fun. It's two characters who are used to surprising other people, and Crystal is the one constantly getting surprised in this case. It's really fun. But how was Suicune Entei managing to keep Gold and Silver alive for this long? It's interesting because, you know, Red was taken out. He was immediately kind of nursed back. I don't know if we know who actually freed him though. I can't remember, but I'm interested to really find out why these Pokemon are taking such a shine to these particular Pokedex holders. Because unless maybe because of what happened previously with Gold and Silver at the Tin Tower, did Entei sense that and know that they were important to the grand scheme of things? Or is it something more than that? Mysteries abound, and I can't wait to find out more. But it looks like we're getting closer to all three of our current protagonists meeting up together, as well as previous protagonists as well. Red is making his way to Mount Silver, Yellow is making her way to one of the islands where Gold and Silver are, and Blue is a gym leader. We still don't know what happened to Green though. That's really weird. Again, because of her connection to Silver, but we'll just have to wait and see. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Check out my Patreon if you wish to support anything that I'm doing. No worries if you can, I understand. You watching this is good enough support alone. And until next time, I hope to see you later. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.